Anthony Albanese today, confirmed he's scared to debate. Now, as Treasurer Jim Chalmers, he isn't. Albanese, the Prime Minister, he is. And that should scare Labor MPs at the start of this election campaign. Yeah, we are in an election campaign. Whether the Prime Minister calls it for April 12 or waits another month, it's on. And today, Albanese proved he really does lack confidence and how on the back foot he is. No wonder Jim Chalmers is saying to Labor, leave it to me, let me have debates, 4 of them in this election, as I showed you last night.
Be happy to debate Angus Taylor every week of the campaign, frankly. So if Angus Taylor wants people to take him seriously on the economy, he will accept my challenge.
But Albanese today seemed to think that even one debate with Opposition Leader Peter Dutton might be a little too much for him, and insisted that even that one be held on the Labor-friendly ABC.
The ABC exists, and the ABC haven't had a debate for a long period of time. I look forward to Peter Dutton agreeing to a debate on the ABC. As for others, that's all negotiated by national secretaries. Frankly, that's why they give us a party organisation to deal with those matters.
Hiding behind his national secretary now? I mean, seriously. But look, you know, when you saw the to and fro between Albanese and Peter Dutton today in dueling press conferences, you've got to see why Albanese is already playing defensive and looking a little worried. 2 topics dominated. First, Peter Dutton's promise to cut 36,000 jobs from the public service, as many as Albanese actually added as Prime Minister.
Under this government, an increase of 36,000 public servants. Just listen to these figures. It goes to 209,000 public servants. Now, that is a growth 3 times the rate of what happened under the Rudd-Gillard years.
Now, to this plan, Albanese could only claim that Dutton was copying Donald Trump, even advertising other Trump ideas as he did it that don't sound too bad, actually.
We don't have to adopt all of America's policies. What we have here from Peter Dutton is that he's so policy lazy, him and his team, that they just, if they hear something, you know, on the news, an announcement from overseas about sacking public servants or people working from home or DEI, you know, the dreaded inclusion policy that they're so worried about, they say, yeah, I'll have some of that.
Translation, Labor needs public service votes. And then there was Dutton's promise to make public servants go back to work, back to the office, and not do work at home like an amazing 61% of public servants still do for at least a few days a week. 61%.
People are putting off going to see a doctor at the moment under this government because they can't afford the out-of-pocket expense. And they are trimming every dollar out of their budget. And I think Australian taxpayers who are working harder than ever under this government and barely keeping their head above water, I think they expect the government and the government employees to be working as hard as they are. And people refusing to go back to work in Canberra is not acceptable.
Albanese's response to this pretty, logical proposal was even less impressive. Most people know that for many people working from home, for the lazy among them, it really is a rort. So, would Albanese make public servants now work back in the office a couple of years after the pandemic? No.
The Coalition want public servants to be at home all the time, 36,000 of them, because they want to sack them.
Then add to all this the news pouring in about the crunch in living standards. I mean, today, for instance, we read that our top food industry representatives, half a dozen bodies, today warning the government that some people are even going hungry because of rising grocery prices. And many of these organisations complaining about soaring costs of electricity and gas. So you had Foodbank, for instance, donates food to 1 million Australians a month now. They said, well, look, our overheads, our power, our labour costs are escalating at the same time. This government promised to cut our power bills with its green schemes. Instead, bills, as you know, have soared and are hurting shoppers, killing businesses. Killing business. Last week, for instance, Oceania Glass, that's Australia's only remaining, or was, only remaining glass manufacturer, for glass for houses and things, said it was going out of business. And one reason it's uncompetitive is high energy prices for a business that uses a lot of energy. And meanwhile, it's a clown show. Another green energy scheme of Albanese's energy minister collapses. I mean, you remember Minister Chris Bowen boasting that he'd create a massive wind farm off the New South Wales coast. This was one of his many wild green schemes. And this was just 8 months ago.
Puts the Illawarra at the centre of Australia's renewable energy future.
In the 8 months since, first one of the big wind farm companies he thought might build this offshore wind farm pulled out, then another, and now the last has said, hang on, Minister, I don't know if we can go on with this, hold your horses. So, everywhere you look, the big picture is that this government has failed. It's failed to give you cheap electricity, it's failed to improve living standards, it's failed to get on top of inflation, it's failed to make housing affordable. And what's failed now is Albanese's nerve. He doesn't even dare debate what he's done.